Hey, this is Russ Anderson. In this tutorial, I'm going to show how you can solve for lens distortion inside of SynthEyes, then use that information inside of AfterEffects to set up the two-pass lens distortion workflow, where your computer-generated effects get distorted back to match the original footage. So I'm going to start out here opening up my shot inside of SynthEyes. This is just a little river flyby, and so we got a 1.5 pixel aspect ratio here. So I'm going to just do a quick auto track on it, a little tracker cleanup. And I am going to say that I want to calculate the distortion. So here you see a distortion value that SynthEyes has calculated for this particular shot. And you can see, there's some vignetting of the lens, so there was actually a bit of distortion here. So now we're going to set up the two-pass lens distortion workflow. So we're going to go back here to the summary panel, select this tool for the two-pass workflow here, and let that do its thing. And now if you look over here in the camera viewport, you'll see that the image is bowed in a little bit at the sides so that all of the source image appears somewhere in this output frame. And it's this ability that's going to let us later recover the original shot. So a piece of information that we're going to need is the final resolution of this shot. And SynthEyes has added some padding to the shot to be able to do what it's doing here and preserve the resolution of the original as much as possible. So we've got 1360 by 1148 is the padded size of the image, and that's being done out here in the image preprocessor. So now let's go over to AfterEffects, and we're going to open up the shot there, and we need to do an interpret footage here. We need to change the square pixels to be the DVC Pro HD 1.5 pixel ratio. Now we can go and create a new composition. Again, it's going to be the same 12. Well, actually here we're going to use the size that we got from SynthEyes. So we're going to put in here the 1360 and the 1148. And we're going to stick with this 1.5 pixel aspect ratio. So here's our new comp. We're going to make this be the undistorted version of that footage. And now we'll just take the original footage and drop it into the composition. And you'll see that here's the padding around the edge there that SynthEyes added. Now we're ready to go and set up a Undistort node. The first thing that we need to do here is tell that Undistort node what the actual size of the composition is. So again, that's the 1360 and 1148 number. And the other number that we need to go get is the distortion value from SynthEyes. And actually, AfterEffects uses 1,000 times this number. So instead of being the 0.01295 you see here, we're going to use 12.95. It's minus 12.95. Go back to AfterEffects. And now you see we get something that looks just like it did inside the SynthEyes camera view. That's bowed in slightly around the edges, and it's this larger image size. So this is now the undistorted version of the shot. So rather than using the SynthEyes image preprocessor to write out the modified image sequence, we can instead write out this comp instead from within AfterEffects if we wanted to be the undistorted version. And you can check out some of our other tutorials to see the workflow to go and update the tracking to accommodate what we've just done to it there. So we've got the undistorted version here. So now let's take a look at what it takes to get back to the original. So we'll go and create another composition, and we're going to make this be the same size as the original. So that's 1280 and 1080. This is going to be our redistorted footage. Again, the 1.5 pixel aspect ratio. And now we'll go and we'll take the undistorted comp and we'll just drop that into the redistorted one. And you'll see now that undistorted one is a bit larger than the comp that we're generating here. And now we can go and we want to add to that undistorted layer the redistort node. And let's just go back and see again what our little magic number was. We'll just double check that. So it was minus 12.95. We need that here. And this doesn't actually need to have any of the final image size information here. It's already good to go, and now we have something that looks good. As always, it's a good idea to check what we've done. So let's go back and we'll take our original footage and we'll drop it back into the shot and or into that composition, and we'll go to differencing mode. And now you see that there's only a tiny bit of stuff here. You see a little bit more now because AfterEffects is using proxies, and as you zoom in on it, you'll see that there's just some very slight little edgy effects that are due to the resampling that's been done here, going and distorting the image and or undistorting it and redistorting it back again. So you see there's only a slight degradation in the image quality, but we've got back to our original image. Now, this redistort effect that we've set up here is what we need to apply to any computer-generated effects. So we do our tracking using this full-size version, the image that comes out of that Undistort node that's at 1360 by 1148. That'll be the same resolution we generate our computer-generated effects at. We can then bring those CGI effects into AfterEffects and apply this exact same redistortion effect to the CGI footage that we just did here. And that will redistort the CGI footage to match back up with the original distorted footage. We can composite everything together just like we did here basically, and everything will line up nicely. So that's the full two-pass workflow. You can see that if we had obtained the lens distortion numbers a bit differently and maybe tweak them a bit inside of SynthEyes so that we had a cubic distortion, we could feed that number in here too. We can also play around with the sizes and whatnot as well. So this is a complete workflow for being able to do the distortion and undistortion that you create inside of SynthEyes and be able to do them within AfterEffects instead, to be able to take advantage of all the tools inside of AfterEffects for compositing everything back together. Enjoy.